In a quaint Irish coastal town, we meet Syracuse, a hard-working young fisherman. His life takes an unexpected turn when he discovers a mysterious woman tangled in his nets one day. After helping her, Syracuse is relieved to see she's unharmed, but something's off. She acts strangely and refuses medical help. Even more puzzling, she can't remember her name. Syracuse chalks it up to amnesia. He takes her to his late mother's house, offering her sandwiches and a temporary haven. Then, duty calls. He needs to take his daughter Annie for dialysis. Annie lives with his ex-wife, Maura. While Annie undergoes treatment, Syracuse spins a tale about a fisherman who caught a woman from the sea. Annie, wise beyond her years, suggests it might be a selkie, a magical sea creature she learned about in school. After dropping Annie off, Maura shows off a new electric wheelchair, but the moment sours when she criticizes Syracuse for not pursuing a kidney transplant for their daughter. The next morning brings another surprise. Syracuse finds the mysterious woman by a stream, singing in an unfamiliar tongue. She introduces herself as Ondine, from the water, and joins him on his boat. Out at sea, something magical happens. As Ondine sings, Syracuse's empty lobster baskets suddenly overflow with catch. She helps him, puzzled when he throws the smaller ones back. At the market, buyers are amazed by Syracuse's haul. He buys a dress, then picks up Annie from school. As they drive home, he continues his story about the fisherman and the sea woman. Annie thinks it sounds too good to be true, like a dream come true. This tale of magic and mystery leaves us wondering, who is Ondine really, and how will her presence change Syracuse and Annie's lives? Syracuse drops Annie off at home, unaware that his curious daughter is secretly following him. He returns to find Ondine chatting with his father, who's wondering about her stay. Syracuse boldly declares she'll stay forever, mirroring the fairy tale he's been spinning for Annie. Annie, having witnessed this, heads to the library to research selkies. Meanwhile, Syracuse visits church for confession. He admits to being a recovering alcoholic 2 years sober. He shares a recurring dream about attending his ex-wife's new husband's funeral and reuniting with Maura, who still battles alcoholism. The priest suggests seeing a psychologist, but Syracuse insists on confession's privacy. He reveals he's hiding a woman he pulled from the sea. Back at the cottage, Ondine explores her new belongings. She's particularly fascinated by fishnet stockings, stretching them over her hand to create a webbed effect. The next day, Annie boldly approaches Ondine at the shore. She declares she knew the fisherman and selkie story wasn't just a fairy tale. Annie opens up about her illness, asking Ondine for magical healing. When Ondine admits she can't perform magic, Annie peppers her with questions. Their conversation flows naturally. Annie insists on honesty and friendship, and inquires about life underwater. Ondine explains it varies, but singing is easier there. Annie shares her selkie research. They can stay on land for up to 7 years until finding happiness with a human. The girl then shifts topics, mentioning her grandmother, whom her father still misses dearly. As Annie prepares to leave, Ondine invites her to return. Syracuse visits the library to borrow books about selkies, only to discover Annie's already checked them out. Meanwhile, Annie meets up with neighborhood kids. She lets a girl try her electric wheelchair, but it runs out of power and rolls into the water. The kids abandon Annie, forcing her to make her own way home. Alex greets Annie at home, recharging her chair. He claims selkies were invented in his native Scotland, but Annie insists Ondine speaks a different language. Out on the bay, Syracuse finds Ondine on a pontoon. As they sail back, a patrol boat passes, causing Ondine to hide and steer with her foot. Syracuse teases her about her dexterity. Ondine's singing coincides with an unusually bountiful salmon catch. The patrol boat returns, and wildlife officers inspect Syracuse's catch. They're suspicious of the salmon haul, but find his nets dry. Ondine, hiding in the hold, confirms Syracuse's story, and the officers leave. Relieved, Syracuse and Ondine head to the harbor to sell the catch. He offers to buy her a gift, and she chooses another dress. They bump into Annie, who's excited to see their fairy tale come to life. Annie helps Ondine shop while townspeople gawk at the mysterious beauty. Later, Annie visits her grandmother's house, now cozy thanks to Ondine's touch. Ondine offers to teach Annie to swim, which the girl eagerly accepts, feeling safe with someone from the sea. As they play in shallow water, Ondine spots something. She asks Annie to get on a raft and retrieves a bundle, which Annie identifies as selkie clothing. According to legend, burying it allows a selkie to stay on land for 7 years, unless her sea husband claims her. This scene deepens the mystery surrounding Ondine and her connection to the sea. Annie and Ondine bury the mysterious bundle in the greenhouse, with Annie carefully counting steps to remember the spot. She warns her father about strangers, hinting at potential danger. The trio heads to a local festival by boat. When Ondine denies being able to grant wishes, a disappointed Annie fakes a wheelchair malfunction, falling off the pier to test Ondine's abilities. Ondine quickly rescues her, and Syracuse carries Annie home to Maura and Alex. Later, Ondine reveals to Syracuse that Annie was testing her ability to breathe underwater. This leads Syracuse to confess his past struggles with alcohol, recounting a pivotal moment when he found Maura passed out next to their unconscious child. This incident prompted him to stay sober for Annie's sake. Maura tells Annie about a dark-haired stranger asking about the fisherman's girlfriend, triggering a nightmare for the girl. Meanwhile, Syracuse and Ondine grow closer, becoming intimate. Feeling conflicted, Syracuse confesses to the priest about his night with Ondine. He expresses fear of the luck she brings, having long lost hope for good fortune. He senses something significant, wonderful or terrible, is about to happen. Outside the church, a mysterious man approaches Syracuse asking about Ondine. Syracuse ignores him and leaves. After taking Annie for dialysis, they return to find an empty house. Syracuse takes Annie to the pub where Maura and Alex are drinking. Returning home alone, Syracuse discovers the doors broken and Ondine missing. He searches frantically, finally finding her hiding. Ondine, visibly shaken, reminds him of the selkie's husband and reveals he's come to take her away. Picture Maura, tipsy and carefree, zipping around in her daughter's wheelchair. Alex tries to warn her, but she's dead set on getting home in style. Meanwhile, Syracuse and Ondine find a secret hideaway behind a misty waterfall. Syracuse offers to grant her heart's desire, but all she wants is for Annie to get better. So, he makes a wish for Ondine to stay instead. As fate would have it, a mysterious man searching for Ondine ends up in a nasty car crash with the very same Maura. Poor Alex gets thrown clear through the windshield, while Annie, thankfully buckled up, still gets pretty banged up. Syracuse and Ondine happen to drive by, spotting the familiar car. Syracuse's heart races as he watches the paramedics rush Annie off to the hospital. At the hospital, they learn some surprising news. Annie's getting a kidney transplant, and wouldn't you know it, Alex is a perfect match. Talk about a twist of fate. While all this is going down, our mystery man bumps into Ondine in the hallway. He's shocked to hear her speaking their language, reminding her that neither of them belongs in this world. The sea might have spat her out, but this isn't their home. The woman, however, asks him to head back without her. The next morning, Annie wakes up, her first words asking about Ondine. Syracuse tries to comfort her, promising they'll see her soon. Sadly, it's time to say goodbye to Alex. During the cremation, Maura scatters his ashes over the sea, finally realizing she can't blame her ex for everything anymore. She begs Syracuse to take Annie, but insists he ditch Ondine. In a moment of weakness, she makes him drink to Alex's memory. Feeling the effects of the alcohol, Syracuse stumbles to the boat where Ondine is hiding. In his drunken state, he calls her names and drags her out to sea, demanding she return to her husband and sing for him instead. He abandons her at the lighthouse, convinced that life isn't a fairy tale and that people and selkies just don't mix. Ondine begs for a chance to say farewell to Annie, but Syracuse sails away, leaving her behind. As the day fades to night, Ondine sits on a log, her silhouette creating a haunting image of a woman with a tail. She waits for darkness to fall, then slips into the sea, disappearing beneath the waves. Let's wrap up this enchanting tale. Morning arrives and we find Syracuse waking up with a heavy heart, realizing he's made a terrible mistake. He brings Annie home from the hospital, and the wise little girl comforts him, assuring him that Ondine will return. She's left something important behind. Later, Annie's watching TV when something catches her eye. It's the Icelandic band Sigur Rós performing. Suddenly, Syracuse has a light bulb moment. He recognizes the words. It dawns on him that Ondine might just be an ordinary woman after all. Without wasting a second, he races to the lighthouse. At first, it seems like Ondine has vanished into thin air. Syracuse frantically searches the shore, calling out for her. Just when hope seems lost, he spots a flickering fire with Ondine huddled nearby. She spins a tale about being a sea creature who buried her magical clothes to stay with the family she's grown to love. But Syracuse isn't buying it, he demands the truth. Finally, Ondine comes clean. Her real name is Ioana, and she was actually a courier smuggling illegal substances from Romania. During a police chase, she was tossed overboard and nearly drowned before getting tangled in Syracuse's fishing net. Talk about a plot twist. Back at home, danger awaits. Criminals have taken Annie hostage. Syracuse tries to fight them off, but he's outnumbered. The bad guys are after the selkie's clothing, which they believe is buried in the greenhouse, but clever Annie has hidden it elsewhere. In a tense standoff, everyone heads to the boat to retrieve the hidden package. Just when things look dire, Annie reminds Ondine of her true nature. In a surprising turn of events, Ondine manages to overpower one of the villains, while Syracuse takes care of the other. The police arrive just in time to arrest the remaining criminal and Ondine, who now faces deportation unless she can gain citizenship or get married. The story takes a heartwarming turn as Annie goes to confession, revealing that her father is getting married soon. She wonders aloud if you can really marry a seal, adding a touch of innocence to the tale. As our story comes to a close, we're treated to a beautiful scene. A girl in a flowing white dress and a fisherman in a dashing suit sailing off on their boat for a honeymoon adventure. It's the perfect fairy tale ending, bringing to life the magical union between a human and a selkie. And just like that, our captivating movie draws to a close, leaving us with a sense of wonder and joy.